Excellent. Okay, it's 6:30. We will call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and second to approve minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Approved claims in the amount of $2,078,114.12.
And this is at the dollar amount is because it's been 5 weeks since our last meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's approved. Request for reclassification of detective to detective sergeant. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Finance Committee. I'm asking for the reclassification of one of our current detectives to detective sergeant. I've kind of outlined those reasons in the issue sheet. Would you like me to go through those?
I read them.
Anybody?
No, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Hagan Street Bridge Project.
As you know, Aaron, I asked this to be on there. I was very dissatisfied on how this all transpired, kind of out of our hands. I guess maybe we relied too much on grants. Do you have an update on the grants and where we're at with this proposal?
So we had 2 grants out there. I believe we've heard from one that we did not get. And then the other one we're supposed to hear from in May or June is July. So we should hear about the other one in July. But basically, we applied for pretty much 90% of the project cost. Now we were still looking at having to contribute probably about $1 million of, our own funding towards it. But we were looking at about $8 million in grant funding for it. So that's still kind of where it's at. And if we don't get that grant and the council wants to move forward with it, that's kind of part of that conversation that we'll be talking about at the council meeting, about setting a meeting to talk about priorities for capital spending. Because as we know, right now, we just upped it to spend $2 million a year on all of our streets and infrastructure and those sort of projects. And this alone would be, $9 million.
Well, at some point, though, we're gonna have to decide that this is important enough to bond it out separately. And I think as we continue to fill up the growth out at the Meadows on the south side of town, and as we look at the annex even more out there, possibly, we gotta address the crossings over the I-94 bridge. And quite frankly, it's still dangerous. Somebody's gonna get hurt or killed up there. And it really is, we're really behind the 8 ball on that.
If I could ask a question of you, since you do serve on public safety, I would like to get a report on incidents up there on the bridge. I'm sure some of that was discussed prior. I was not on the council a year and a half ago when some of the discussion was first brought forward, and design ideas were selected. I do think some of the public, our residents, got the impression that we're moving forward. We've chosen a plan, and we're going to do that. So that was a little confusing for some people. I have had residents ask me about that. But I would like to raise a question that I think we need to address. I also was not on the council when we had our big Wisconsin DOT project on 2nd Street. But
You want to bring
exactly.
that up, huh?
Yeah, right. So my point being how difficult they are to work with. And even last year, the project with the Carmichael overpass by exit 2, they have their own way of operating. They're sort of monolithic. When they decide to do something, they move forward. Now, I'm very interested in the structural safety of that building, and if I'm not mistaken, they have stated that it is adequate at this time, and they don't plan to replace it for structural safety. I would like to hear from our current city attorney, our city engineer, if she would be able to reevaluate that and see their report so that we would know that. Because otherwise, I just have to say, why is the city of Hudson taking on a project for a bridge that's not ours? We don't own it. If we start taking care of it and changing it, what is that going to mean for the future and both our liability and our responsibility to maintain it? I mean, we're in a tough spot. I agree with you. The city's growing. We got like choke points there. I try to do my part by not going to the post office after 3 p.m, just to stay off the bridge because of the traffic flow. So it's issue. I'm not disavowing those issues and concerns, and I know it would be very helpful if we could address it to make sure that our residents are safer, traffic flow, pedestrians, people on bikes. But I have very serious concerns about undertaking a project where, I mean, do we have their blessing? Have they said we can do it, or are we going to run into problems?
You know, and I
That's
don't
my
know if-
question.
I think, do you remember if that was ever said, that you had to go ahead and do it? If you
They would
guys
have
pay
to
for it?
review and approve. So if we decided to undertake it, WISDOT would have to do a review and approval, and then also they would have to go through federal highway transportation as well, because it does go over an interstate.
Right.
So we would have to get approvals from the other parties involved before they allow us to, but, you know, mostly WISDOT has said, hey, if you want to pay for anything, we're great. We're still going to own it, but you can pay for it, sort of thing.
Okay.
So I think as long as they would sign off on the plans, I think we technically could do the project, but we'd have to go through that process to get approval.
Briefly, Joy, a little
Yes.
back history with that is that we did hear a lot from our residents up there, especially me as a district
absolutely.
representative, of people on the south side that wanted to cross and get downtown, and the issues of traffic accidents. There's numerous accidents, Jeff. I know that we've pulled the report on that a couple
Sure.
different
Yeah,
times.
I'd like to see an update.
But for
That'd be
sure,
great.
get it to you, but, you know, it has and was something citizens want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm against how the DOT works. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
they're
have-
difficult
Yeah.
at best.
But
at
at
best.
the same time, it's our responsibility to get these folks, and I know you know that, safely across
Right.
the highway.
So that decision would have to be made, I mean, and you also know, Randy, from your history, how rare it is that Hudson actually gets awarded
Right.
a grant that we could use and utilize. So maybe this one will be a unique location and it'll be recognized as significant and we'll get an award.
I was hoping,
Hope-
because, you know,
hopeful.
we got that big one for Wisconsin Street at the time, and that was very big for us, for our community.
Sure.
We were on a good streak there, so hopefully, when did you say, June, July?
July,
Okay.
sounds like. So, and then in the meantime, while we wait for that, we can make sure that Aaron gets a chance to maybe
Sure, just to be
meet with
on top of
WISDOT and talk to them about that bridge
Yeah.
and see how what criteria they use, not only
Right.
for the structural stability, but also for the actual safety functionality of it, because the increase of traffic on it. So we'll see if we can have Aaron work with them to dig
Sure.
into a little bit. Maybe we'll get lucky and we can
Yeah.
keep trying to convince them, like we're trying to do with Exit 2, that
Yeah.
they should replace it sooner than later.
And I have reached out to Tom Tiffany's office to work on to the federal
Good idea.
process.
Sure.
But right now, we're playing phone tag with him and his
Okay.
assistant, so.
Got it. Okay, well, thank
I'm not
you.
just trying to heap it onto the taxpayers of the city of Hudson. So I am looking.
Right,
at
it's both
alternative.
funding and permission and them signing off on it, because here we are, a town of 15,000. Like you said, it's an interstate highway. It's the gateway to Wisconsin. I mean, we do want it to be nice and we want it to be safe. I absolutely support that. I just feel cautious about
I
that
just don't
approach.
want to let up off the brake on this.
Okay,
We'll
I hear ya.
get that more information, and we'll have it
Should say
ready for
yes.
discussion, especially once we find out for sure what's happening with the grant.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right, thanks. Discussion possible action to approve the quote from Cyclone Fence in the amount of $18,855 to replace a retaining wall fence along 3rd Street.
Good evening, Mayor and Finance. Mike Mraz, Director of Public Works. So in front of you tonight is to approve a quote received from Cyclone Fence in the stated amount of $18,855. And this is to replace the remaining fence along 3rd Street Hill, just to the east of the old fire station. As you can see over there right now, there is a gap that was left when we tore down the old station, so that'll be replaced. And staff, seeing that some of the other fence is still original, and we were trying to figure out a date of when that was installed, and it's old chain link. It's probably from, I don't even know, Randy, if you would even 50s, 60s.
I'm not that old.
Yeah, right. So anyways, staff thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and just replace the full stretch so it's uniform, looks nice, bend the poles straight, so on and so forth. So we did ask for a change order from the contractor. It came back very high in our estimation. So I went out and got a private quote from a company that we've used before in the parks and so on and so forth, and that's what the amount came back at. And so staff is recommending approving the quote from Cyclone Fence, and to pay for this, it would come out of the same pool of money that we used to tear down the fire hall, which would be TID 6.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to approve the proposal from Studio EA in the amount of $19,500 to provide architectural and engineering services to replace the Williams Park restroom.
So in the 2023 capital improvement plan, council had identified replacement of the restroom at Williams Park. And so this is the first step in the process. We would look to hire Studio EA to develop the original design, the plans, the specifications, help with construction documents, so on and so forth. I did reach out to another company that we've been working with, Cedar Corp, to see what they would quote us at, and obviously it was a lot higher than what Studio EA had quoted us at. Studio Corp, for the public, quoted us at $30,000. Studio EA was at $19,500. And so with this approval pending tonight, we would get started on the repurpose or the reconstruction of that facility at Williams Park.
Well, that's a long time coming. I tell you what,
Oh,
people
man,
up there
it's-
got to be happy because it's been
Yeah.
on for a long time. So I'm glad to see you guys moving with
Yeah,
that.
it'll be something similar to what was just constructed in Anderson Park a couple of years ago, kind of the same size and structure.
I'll make the motion since it's in my district.
I'll second it. It's across the street from my district.
Ah, so you guys want to play
And my
that?
kids
Yeah.
played there growing up.
I played there, huh? Now I'm aging.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Approved letter of engagement with Bolton and Mink for construction phase services for 2023 3rd Street / Laurel Avenue Bluff area reconstruction project.
So this item is for a 3rd Street Hill project, the reconstruction that just started here on 3rd Street Laurel Avenue from Walnut to Blakeman Boulevard. Bolton and Mink helped with the design, did the retaining wall design, and we will be looking to hire them to do construction phase services throughout the project. So they would do construction inspection versus city staff doing it. The total is $98,650, and that is still within our engineering estimated budget of $330,200.
I'll
So
move,
staff recommends to approve the LOE for construction phase services.
I'll move to approve this for Bolton and Mink, because it's in my district.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action to approve change order number 1 to replace curb and gutter in 3rd Street Hill project.
Yep, so this is for the same project. So the original plans that went out to bid included overlaying 2 inches of asphalt on the existing curb and gutter for the portion of the project that was added from the original last year's project. And so after evaluating, once the snow has melted, looking at the condition of the existing curb and gutter, staff recommends that we just replace the curb and gutter along the whole project area. So the top of the hill, that half of the project, all of the pavement is getting replaced and the curb and gutter on both sides of the street. So this was just unify the corridor, kind of get it all done right now since we don't know when we'd come back. And the original plans to overlay the curb and gutter isn't as viable a solution with the poor condition of the existing curb and gutter. So we reached out to the contractor and they would be willing to do the additional curb and gutter within the schedule and also for the same unit prices as they bid out. So we wouldn't be paying anything extra per linear foot of curb and all the other bid items we already, so it'd just be adding to the quantities of the items already in the contract. So the total change order cost would be $64,813.38. And some of that cost would be incurred by the adjacent property owners, so there would be additional assessments. And I have attached the assessment map, so you can see most of the project area on the north half of the project. Highlighted in blue on the assessment map is mostly city property. So most of the cost of this change order is coming from city funds, but there will be some additional assessments to the adjacent property owners. But there's already assessments for curb and gutter up the hill, and so we do recommend moving forward with this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second to approve. Any discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say that and Aaron and I have had this discussion, and we discussed it in Public Works, of course, and brought it forward to Finance. We're happy to be moving forward on that 3rd Street Hill this year. Last year, as you know, the struggle was, what can we afford to do? And that was part of it, is the engineering design had, at one point, we thought we were just going to do the curve and put in the new retaining wall. That is the most significant structural part that we desperately needed, and is quite expensive. So thank you for picking up on this, Aaron, that there is funding that we can finish that out, because at one point we had not even planned to redo the paving all down to Walnut, just based on the cost. So thankfully, maybe cost of asphalt, other things are coming down, or we've allocated more funding just to get the project done. And so thanks for your extra work on it, and I think it'll be great. It'll be good when the project's done and behind us. Feel good then.
So, I'm sorry, was there a motion?
Yes, and I seconded it. Joyce moved, I seconded, and then
Oh,
made a
that's right.
comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a comment.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to approve change order number 3 for the old fire station demolition project.
So this issue is for the old fire station across the street. So a few things, the project is mostly complete, but a few things over the winter have come up. So the first issue that would be part of this change order is some of the curb and gutter. They didn't completely pave the parking lot wear course, so there's kind of a little lip on the curb and gutter. So the plow over the winter has torn it up. There's one spot that's significantly damaged and needs replacement. There's other spots that just have kind of nicks and bruises. But we reached out to the contractor to see if they can add this to the spring to replace the curb and gutter, and they gave us a price. So the first issue is to replace 20 linear feet of curb and gutter that was damaged by the snow plow. So that would be our cost. The second issue would be they paved the base course in ideal weather conditions, so we wanted to get it paved. I know I wasn't here personally at that time, but I have been up to date on the project, and there are portions of the base course that need to be corrected because it was paved in the cold and rainy weather conditions. So this we would put into the change order as an agreement that it would be on the contractor's expense to fix those areas, and we have already identified the areas and reached out to the contractor about that. The third issue is the gap there. When they tore down the building, they left kind of the building face next to the retaining wall along 3rd Street, and there's a gap between the retaining wall and the building. So if left uncorrected, there would be infiltration between the two, and that could have a potential problem with water penetration between the two structures. So we have reached out to SEH, and they designed a wall cap basically to go over the retaining wall and the building, so it'll be a nice cap over both to prevent that water penetration. And so all of those items would come out to $23,189.
Is item 1 on that, Aaron, weights and measures, or we claim that?
Say that again?
Weights and measures to pay for that, or is it because of it's our own doing insurance claim?
No, we won't be doing an insurance claim for it because it is our own plows. I mean, it just happens sometimes. We hit curbs and things that damage happens.
Right.
So nope, we'll just pay for it out of the TID funds, the project funds that we identified.
Good. Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. Excuse me, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you, Aaron.
Yep.
I don't have anything. Anybody?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.